Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shandeep, and I'm a management consultant at Accenture Strategy. So, today we are going to be discussing about enterprise agility, or more commonly known as business agility. So, what is enterprise agility? So, enterprise agility is more like an ability of an organization to adapt to market and environmental changes. So, uh, every organization, whatever laws, rules, regulations, market conditions, recessions, whatever they are put through, every organization generally adopts to it. Some organizations do it quickly, some organizations are not so quick. Let's just put it that way. So it is the ability of an organization to rapidly adapt to the market and environmental changes so that they are more productive and they are more cost effective. So now we are going to be seeing why should you be caring about enterprise agility. Now, uh, if you are a business owner, or if you are let's say handling a business of your own, so the reason you should be caring about the enterprise agility, because it is how you adopt to the market, right? So what the market needs, what the market rules and regulations are, if there's a recession in the market, how do you adopt to it? So that is why if you don't adopt to it in the right time, you may lose your competitive edge and you may fall behind in the market. So as a result, some companies are known to lose market shares. So a very good example would be Nokia. When they came into existence, I mean, like they were the top mobile phone makers, right? So up until 2008, Nokia were the leaders in mobile phone market. But suddenly, when they realized, I mean, like when they adopted the Windows operating system in their smartphones, that is when they started losing market share, because Windows was not very well perceived by the users, and they had a lock-in of 10 years or so. So that is why they could not do anything, and as a result, they lost almost entirely their full market share. And the second leader, Samsung, they took up the entire market share at that time. So where Nokia, iPhone, Samsung, they used to be, let's say, the top players in the market. Suddenly, Nokia became, I mean, like Nokia vanished from the list, and Samsung and Apple took a greater share of the market. So that is why should you be caring about enterprise agility? Because you will be able to leverage more innovation. So what the market needs, what the market demands, or based on the rules and regulations that's put into the market, you will be able to innovate. You will be able to cut through the market standards, and you will be able to uh, you'll be the first one to break into new markets and tap into, let's say, other areas and increase your profit share. Second reason would be to increase efficiency. So this obviously just goes without saying that if you're able to adopt quickly, then you increase your efficiency as well, because what other players may take let's say 20 days, 30 days of time to adopt, and if you're able to do it quickly, then you don't lose out on the efficiency. A very good example would be the COVID. So during March 2020, when the COVID came, some organizations had to be shut down for 1 2 months because they were not market resilient. So when the government introduced lockdown policies, they were not able to ramp up the infrastructure for working from home. While some companies did it very smoothly, some com- some companies were not able to do it very smoothly. And if you're not able to keep up with the market, and if you're not able to keep up with the rules, regulations, and the changing conditions, then you wouldn't be able to satisfy your customers quite as well as the other players in the market. Nextly, how would you be developing the enterprise agility strategy? So first would be to assess the readiness. So whatever product or innovation you're coming up with, uh, let's say whatever ideas you have, is your organization itself, uh, does your organization itself have the right culture or the right people to be able to, let's say, uh, remove the impediments and uh, work through that change. So does is your organization itself ready or not? That is the first thing to check. Second would be empowering people. This is a concept which is not so uh, it's not given the right credit. But whenever there is a change, or whenever you are releasing something, it is very difficult to get people to adopt it. So whenever there's an organizational change, or whenever there's a new product, people will always question what's in it for me. So same, if you're let's say introducing a DevOps strategy across the entire organization, the first thing people will do is they will resist. Why the new tool chain? What's wrong with the existing tool chain? This new tool chain, if they're increasing their work, but they have no idea that how streamlined and organized it's going to be, then they will obviously resist. The only way you can stop that resistance is by empowering them. You take them on board with you, you coach them, and you make them as change agents. Then rather than resisting, they will actually endorse your change, and they will work accordingly. Thirdly would be to adopt the agile principles. So be it for adaptive planning, or be it for backlog prioritization, be it for customer collaboration, be it for prioritizing what functionalities or features are to be prioritized over others, or be it working in a time box manner. So adopting these agile principles becomes very, very imperative when we go for the enterprise agility. And lastly, measuring progress. So whatever change you're bringing in, obviously, you cannot just bring in the change and make that like a process. You would also have to measure that what is the value that you brought from that change. What are the, let's say, what were you supposed to do out of that change? What were the goals and metrics that you've decided before bringing in the change? And after you brought in the change, were you able to make that mark or not? So were you able to clear off that objective or not? So measuring progress is as important as any of the other steps. So next we will talk about the key elements of the agile principles. So backlog management is whatever you're supposed to do in the pipeline. So a Kanban methodology is used. So whatever you're supposed to do in the pipeline, you can obviously have stages to it, that which stage is it at, but it is also important to prioritize. So let's say when WhatsApp came into picture, they had a very specific idea. Let's say around in 2013 or 2012, when WhatsApp came into picture, they had a very specific idea that this would be a text messaging platform, because at that time people needed a free way of texting each other. So rather than using SMS, people started adopting to WhatsApp. Then, based on the market necessities, they prioritize which functionalities are more important than other. Then slowly they came in with the functionality of sending media or images across to friends and family. Then slowly the calling functionality came into picture. Slowly the video calling, then the status, the communities, the updates. So slowly these functionalities came into picture based on market requirement, based on what is most important and what the market needs. Next, continuous integration. So this is more of a technical concept, that whenever a developer is writing code, the code that a developer is writing, it should be aligned to the actual source code, or the bulk of the code, which is, let's say, in WhatsApp, I I will refer to that same example. So in WhatsApp, if a video calling functionality is to be built, so the developers who are working on it, they should be continuously integrating the new code with the existing source code. Reason being, if they develop a functionality which is a standalone functionality and is detached from the actual source code of WhatsApp, then what will happen is once they try to integrate the entire thing together, it may happen that the architecture does not match, or the infrastructure or the platform doesn't match, and as a result they may have to do the entire thing once again. So all the effort, time, money, everything is wasted. So that is why continuous integration is an important aspect. So whenever they're developing or writing code, they should make sure that it is aligned with what is already there in the source code. Next would be iterative development. So rather than uh, creating a roadmap of 5 6 years down the line, maybe do something that's relevant in, let's say, 1 month or so. So maybe make a sprint of 3 weeks or 4 weeks, and then you decide upon a functionality, and then you build that in that specific time frame. Next, you pick up another time box. So rather than going for a 3 week or let's say 3 year time box, go for small time boxes. Let's say three weeks or 4 weeks time boxes, and build iteratively based on the functionalities that is prioritized in the backlog, and based on the functionalities that is market relevant. Because if you develop something now, it may so happen that after 3 years down the line it may not be so relevant. So that is why we are talking about these agile principles, right? And lastly, collaborative culture. And this is actually the heart of all the three principles. So whatever customer or the market wants, so rather than being detached from the necessity, it would be more helpful if customer is put at the center of whatever is being developed or whatever functionality is being worked upon. So this will actually foster a culture of, let's say, trust and transparency and even accountability, so that people understand that what their responsibilities are, and they're ready to take risk and experiment further on uh, on their work. So this is where we are differentiating agile versus the waterfall approach. In agile, so there is no fixed planning as such, but in waterfall there's like a fixed planning. So what that means is, when WhatsApp came into picture, let's say in 2012, they did not think of developing a platform or a messaging platform which would be, let's say, enabled with the functionalities that we have today. Because back in 2012, nobody even expected that this is the functionalities that users will be needing and users will be adopting to. So that is why, rather than planning all things ahead of time, do an iterative planning. So reduce the time box to, let's say, 2 weeks or 4 weeks or so, and build on those functionalities. So plan that accordingly rather than planning 2 3 years down the line, and develop the same things iteratively. So uh, do planning also iteratively and adaptively, and development also iteratively. Next would be customer collaboration versus contract negotiation. So in waterfall approach, what happens is, uh, since we are planning ahead of time for, let's say, 3 4 years down the line, so your contract becomes the most important thing, that what are the features and functionality you're going to be developing. But in agile approach, what we do is we emphasize on customer collaboration. So basis what customer needs today, or basis what customer will need in a month's time, so we work accordingly rather than a fixed contract. So, and lastly would be continuous improvement. So rather than process adherence, I mean, like, process adherence is very important, but the emphasis shifts to continuous improvement. So we have built a product, we have, let's say, built WhatsApp with a specific set of features, but we will continuously improve on it. We will continuously see what the market needs. I mean, like, we will continuously sense what the market needs, and based on that, we will develop features. But we will do it in small iterations, because if we, let's say, spend too much time on a functionality which is not needed by the market, then we may have to, I mean, like, obviously that effort will be discarded. But the reason we are picking up a shorter time box is so that those features are still there. I mean, like, even though the effort is wasted, but at least the effort is less wasted. So lastly, scaling agile. So it doesn't just help if you develop a agile team, if you develop a agile team with, let's say, product owner, a scrum master, and team members or developers per se. I mean, like, at a single team level, it is well and good, but when you're working with big products or big programs, so you need to be able to agile, or let's say you need to be able to scale those agile principles and practices. So that is why we need to create, let's say, we need to establish a common framework that the entire business will adhere to, and that is why we are calling it enterprise agility. So we started with team level agility and what things can be done at a team level, and slowly we are establishing, or we are scaling it to at an enterprise level, or first at a business level, or maybe at a program level, then slowly at a portfolio level, and then at a business level. So it could be done by first establishing a common framework. So it could be, let's say, safe framework, or a less framework, or Spotify framework. So whatever frameworks there are, that could be helpful for the organization's priorities and necessities. Select that framework across the organization, and then work accordingly. Uh, so the same principles follows: empowering team, embracing diversity, and all that. Lastly, we have the best practices for enterprise agility. So firstly, it doesn't just help if you have successfully built a product, and the journey doesn't really stop there. So the journey will continue. People will need to learn more. People will need to understand what the next market requirement is, and they will need to adopt the product accordingly. Because let's say I keep going back to that same WhatsApp example. So WhatsApp took the majority market share back in 2015 only, while there were other messaging platforms also with offering the same functionality. But they did not stop innovating. They did not stop sensing the market, or they did not stop learning. So as a result, they kept growing with the market necessities and requirements. And accordingly, when the laws and regulations came in for messaging platforms, they complied with that accordingly. So they were uh, agile enough to comply, or to adopt themselves to whatever conditions they were put through. And next would be making data driven decisions. So if you're, let's say, developing a product, or if you're working on a product, you would obviously want to understand how well it is being adopted in the market. Or if you're working on a change, you would obviously want to understand how well is that change working out, be it for the market or be it for the customer. How is it being perceived by the people? Is it actually making a difference or not? Is it making their lives easier or not? So don't trust your instincts when making that decision, but make data driven decisions to understand if it's the right thing to do or not. And lastly, enterprise agility, even though the concept of agility may have started with software development, but it extends to a whole lot of things. So even the business operations could be onboarded in the agile mindset, so that they also could be, let's say, reaping the benefits that agility provides. So it's not necessary that software development works in projects. Even construction and everything works in a project management based mindset. So that's it for today. Keep visiting my channel for more.